do that, you'll see with a lot of different bridging systems here.
From ship to pier, aid trucks are rolling into Gaza. Interlocking steel platforms roar with each passing wave. But after weeks of mishaps, the U.S. military's $230 million pier off the coast of Gaza is finally operational. But this aid isn't actually feeding anyone in Gaza, at least not yet.
We're currently aboard the U.S. military floating pier off the Gaza coastline. Yesterday, the military says they were able to get about 800 pallets of aid off of this pier and into Gaza. But the problem now is the World Food Program, which is supposed to be picking up that aid. They say the security conditions just aren't there for them to be able to pick up that aid and distribute it to the people of Gaza.
These are some of the now more than 6,000 pallets of humanitarian aid the U.S. military says are sitting in an open-air warehouse across from the pier. The World Food Program paused its operations at the pier more than 2 weeks ago, citing safety concerns. Across Gaza, humanitarian aid groups say Israeli military operations and a rise in lawlessness and looting are bringing their aid operations to a crawl. And it couldn't come at a worse time, as experts say people in Gaza are once again at high risk of famine. The U.S. military invited CNN to the pier for the first time to show how it is ramping up the flow of aid to Gaza and how it is getting this beleaguered project back on track after rough weather damaged and took the pier out of service for weeks.
The sea is a difficult taskmistress, unpredictable. Each wave is different than the last. So dealing with that is a challenge, but we've adapted to that. And I think we're in a better position now than we were initially.
About 40 truckloads are now arriving at the pier each day, still well short of the military's initial estimates of 90 to 150. A complex effort aid officials say would have been best spent pressuring Israel to get more aid in by land.
This was never meant to be a long-term solution to the problem. This was meant to be one more way until we could find ways to open those gates up, to get that pressure to open the gates.
Access to the U.S. pier also provided a rare vantage of the destruction to Gaza's coast.
It really is remarkable to see the Gaza coastline up close like this after nearly 9 months of war. All we can see along this shoreline are buildings that are either completely flattened, completely destroyed, or those that are simply shells of themselves.
It is also the daily backdrop for U.S. soldiers like Sergeant Ibrahim Berry, a practicing Muslim who started working on the pier operation in March during the holy Muslim month of Ramadan.
Knowing that they're going through these harsh conditions and still fasting, still holding on to their faith and getting the little bit that they can, that's what, it was another motivation right there.
By the time Israeli forces leave this house in central Gaza, 1 woman and 3 children have been shot. A 12-year-old boy clings to life. This is the story of one Gazan family caught up in the June 8th rescue of 4 Israeli hostages being held in Nusrat. When Abdul Rauf, the grandfather and owner of the house, saw tanks and special forces arrive on their street, he says his family of 14 hid in one room in the top-floor apartment. What happened next has been relayed to us by 7 members of the same family in multiple interviews. Mohammed Matta, father of 4, says he heard the soldiers screaming, shooting and throwing stun grenades downstairs. CNN has verified that this IDF video shows troops inside the house. It appears heavily edited, but you can hear what sounds like shots fired. They came up to the apartment, the father adds, shooting and saying, "Who's here?" We told them, "We are civilians. Children and women are in this room." The boy's aunt says, "The Israelis came and started shooting at us. I heard someone groaning in pain. This is the blood of my son, Yaman," says Rasha. "He was bleeding here. As soon as the Israelis entered, they shot him. There were bullets in his leg and stomach." 12-year-old Yaman later died from his wounds. My son died before my eyes and I couldn't do anything, she says. He was looking at me saying, "Mum, hold me, I'm bleeding." Rasha says another son, Mumin, 16, was shot in the shoulder and stomach. She wanted to help, but she says the soldiers threatened to kill them if she did. Another shot grazed the third son, the bullet striking his aunt in the leg. CNN has geolocated the buildings the hostages were rescued from. The family home is over a kilometre away, on a likely evacuation route the Israeli military used to extract the hostages from Gaza. The IDF says the battalion was there to secure the area during the operation. Inside the house, the grandfather says he and Yaman's father were taken to the corridor, hands tied behind their back, gagged and blindfolded, pointing out the plastic head cover left behind. The father says a soldier warned him, "Tell me where the resistance fighters and weapons are, or I will break your heart for your children." And he did it. He went to the room a minute later and I heard the gunshots. It's not clear if any of the family members were hit in the second round of shooting. CNN has reached out to the IDF, but they have not responded to the specific allegations. The family's testimony matches evidence CNN saw at the scene. We've shown images of the bullet casings on the ground to weapons experts who confirm they are Israeli manufactured. The grandfather points to multiple bullet holes in walls, doors and furniture on different floors of the building. The family says Israeli troops were in their home for around 45 minutes. One soldier applied a dressing to Mumin's shoulder wound before they left. Outside, the grandfather tries to call an ambulance. He's told they cannot reach him. So the boys are loaded into a car and rushed to hospital, where Yaman is pronounced dead. Gaza health officials say more than 270 people were killed that day. No breakdown of fighters versus civilians, but this hospital footage shows women and children in every corner. Israel says the death toll is far lower, blaming Hamas for hiding hostages within the civilian population. One family's story, one small window into a day of hell for the residents of Nuseirat. Paula Hancock's CNN Jerusalem.